Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to another video of Be the Best DFS Daily Fantasy Sports Talk. Today is Wednesday, September 7th, 2016, and I will be going over my lineup strategy for FanDuel's main slate tonight. It's about 3:23 in the afternoon here where I'm at in Decatur, Georgia, and I'm excited about this slate for today. I hope you all got to watch the video on yesterday. My lineup was very successful. I made about 2 or 3 lineups. My highest score was the one that I talked about in the video yesterday with Jose Urena at pitcher. Although he didn't have a great game, only had 18 fantasy points. The rest of my lineup performed. Anthony Rizzo, the BVP play, and Kyle Seager, another BVP play, and the Washington Nationals stack did pretty good for me. I ended up cashing for $57 on last night, profited like $37. If you're following on social media, y'all probably saw the results that I posted. But yesterday and last night is over with. Today is a new day, a new opportunity to be great, a new opportunity to be the best. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with today's slate for tournaments and GPPs. I'm not playing any cash games today neither. So at the first position, pitcher, which is the most important position on FanDuel for tournaments and GPPs for tonight, there are only 2 pitchers that I have in play for myself personally. And my favorite pitcher would be David Price for the Boston Red Sox going up against the San Diego Padres. Now, yesterday, Clay Buchholz, he had a good game. I mentioned him yesterday. I just was scared to pull the trigger because of his inconsistency. I did use Buchholz in my late night slate, and he did good, 46 fantasy points. So if Buchholz can have a good game against the Padres, I don't see any reason why David Price can't have a good game as well. He's the highest priced pitcher on the slate at 10,800. But with the options that you have tonight, I think he's definitely in play. I think he's worth the investment. Let's see. His last 4 fantasy games is very impressive also. 48 fantasy points on September 3rd versus Oakland. 45 fantasy points August 27th at Kansas City. 60 fantasy points on August 22nd versus Tampa Bay. And 39 fantasy points versus Boston on August 17th. So based off his last 4 games, he's been showing some consistency, which I like. Actually, last 5 games, he's been showing some consistency, reaching 39 fantasy points or more. It's a National League game, so you have that pitcher spot has the bat. And we all know that San Diego, they have really struggled the last couple of weeks as far as their offense goes. They typically tend to struggle against lefties, like I mentioned in some of my previous videos. And I just think David Price is in a great spot, a great spot. There's nobody on, the only person on the Padres who may concern me is Will Myers. Other than that, I don't see anyone that should give David Price any problems. So definitely, David Price, top play for tournaments and GPPs, in my opinion. And I think, although the price is 10,800 for David Price tonight, I think the price is right. Okay, like I said, there was another pitcher that I feel is in play for tournaments and GPPs tonight. And the second pitcher I think is Robbie Ray for the Arizona Diamondbacks at $8,500. He's on the road playing at Dodger Stadium, and his last game was pretty horrible. 4 fantasy points, but that was at Coors Field. The game prior to that was versus Atlanta, only 30 fantasy points. But he has a few interesting games on his game log. Against the Padres on August 21st, 69 fantasy points. That was pretty impressive. 39 fantasy points August 16th against the Mets. But I don't want to go through all his games, but when you look at his game log, he has a few 50 fantasy point performances. And Dodger Stadium is supposed to be a pitcher stadium because it's a big ballpark, and the Dodgers, in my opinion, they tend to struggle against lefties. I remember just a couple of weeks ago, the game at Cincinnati when they were playing the Reds, and Brandon Finnegan, who's a lefty, he had a no hitter up until the eighth inning, and that was at a good ballpark. So they struggle against lefties sometimes. A lot of the Dodgers, their top hitters are probably Corey Seager, who's a left-handed hitter, Adrian Gonzalez, who's a left-handed hitter, and Chase Utley. They're three of their top offensive guys. And with a lot of people being on David Price tonight, deservingly so, if you want to save some money and make a pivot move away from David Price, I definitely think Robbie Ray for the Diamondbacks is a good play tonight for tournaments. Another thing is the Dodgers. I'm not sure who this pitcher is. Brock Stewart. I'm not sure who he is. I think this may be his first career start. So I also think the Diamondbacks can get the win, facing an inexperienced pitcher. So when I factor in all those points, and definitely Robbie Ray, his ownership to be lower than Price, he's definitely a great play for tournaments and GPPs tonight, in my opinion. And I'll most likely make a second lineup tonight with Robbie Ray as my pitcher. Other pitchers to consider, I know a lot of y'all might like Steven Strasburg, but the Braves, they've been doing better offensively. And a BVP play, Freddie Freeman, I think he's in a good spot to have a good fantasy performance tonight. I think he gets at least one home run and maybe 2 hits. Carrasco, I'm not interested in him versus Houston. Houston, they kind of hit the ball well against Kluber last night, so I'm not interested in Carrasco. I'm not interested in Duffy for Kansas City because Minnesota, they've been scoring a lot of runs lately. And that's about it for tournaments and GPPs. We had some games in this early afternoon, so it's only a few games here. I think it must be like 11 games. But yeah, those are the main two. David Price, number one. If you want to save some money and be a little more contrarian, definitely Robbie Ray for the Arizona Diamondbacks. And that's my take at pitcher. Moving on to the rest of my lineup. I'm doing something a little different tonight, but I feel really good about it. I'm stacking an entire game, one game, players from both sides. And the game that I like as a stack tonight is the Chicago Cubs versus the Milwaukee Brewers. On last night, the Brewers won 12-5, a total of 17 runs scored. Miller Park is a good park for hitting. I like the matchups tonight as far as the pitching matchups versus the batters. And so I'm stacking both sides of that game. So I'm going to start off by telling y'all my stack, and then I'll go into talking about other plays at each position. So I like the Milwaukee Brewers side more than the Chicago Cubs side, mainly because of I think it's better for tournaments because they would be less owned. So for the Brewers, at first base, I got Chris Carter for 3,400. Lefty versus righty matchup going up against Mike Montgomery, who's a average pitcher in my opinion. Chris Carter, I believe he's hit like 3 home runs within the last 4 games or 4 days. So with his power upside, his price, the ballpark, I really, really like Chris Carter tonight for the first part of my Milwaukee Brewers stack. The second part is Jonathan VR at third base for 3,600. This guy, I don't know if he has that much power. He hit a home run on yesterday, but I love his stolen base upside. Let me see if I can. 52 stolen bases on the season. He probably right up there with Billy Hamilton as far as the lead in stolen bases. But yeah, again, Jonathan VR, he's a switch hitter again, the matchup against Mike Montgomery, I don't think he's that great of a player. VR homered on last night. He typically leads off in the order, so he'll get a lot of opportunities to come up to bat. Good ballpark. If he gets on base, it's likely he's going to try to steal. So I definitely like Jonathan VR as the second part of the Brewers stack. A third part, I couldn't make a stack and leave out Ryan Braun. So Ryan Braun for 4,000. I like him as the third part of the Brewers stack for this lineup. And he's homered in his last 2 games. So he's been kind of hot lately. It's the lefty versus righty matchup. And again, Miller Park or Hitters Park. So I like Brewer. And then the third part, definitely because of the price, Hernan Perez for 2,600 in the outfield. Let me look at his statistics. 13 home runs on the season. He's batting .274. And on last night, he had 31.2 fantasy points. So hopefully this series continues in the trend that it was from yesterday. A lot of runs being scored. 17 runs is a lot. So I definitely don't see it being a pitcher's duel between Mike Montgomery and Matt Garza. So hopefully a lot of runs can be scored tonight. And hopefully these players I picked on the Brewers can put up some fantasy points. Now, on the Cubs side, the Chicago Cubs side, I like Miguel Montero again. I picked him last night. I mentioned him in the video. It's a lefty versus righty matchup, and he has good BVP statistics versus Matt Garza as well. Look that up real quick. Montero, he's batting .391 with 1 career home run versus Montero. And he's just been in a good streak lately. If you look at Montero's game log, last 2 games, double-digit fantasy points. September 7th, 27.9, and September 5th, 15.2. So I like Miguel Montero for the first part of my Chicago Cubs stack. The second part I like is Addison Russell. His price is just very, very, very low, 2,600. This guy, I think he's definitely has the skills. He should be priced at least 3,000 in my opinion. So at that value price with his potential in a good ballpark, I like Addison Russell as the second part of my Cubs stack. And in the third part, another player that's very, very underpriced, Soler, Jorge Soler for 2,400 in the outfield position. Yeah, he doesn't have, really appealing statistics on the season. He's batting .250 with 10 home runs on the season, only 28 RBIs, but he's only played 76 games. He's been injured a lot, but I know this guy, he has a lot of power. He's a big guy. He got a lot of power, and considering the ballpark and that favorable price of 2,400, I think he's the third part of my Chicago Cubs. Well, this is actually a mini stack because I'm only using 3 of them. Now, I definitely think Chris Bryant is a good player to put in a stack for the Chicago Cubs. But the way I made my lineup, I wasn't able to, afford, Chris Bryant. And with VR being a little more affordable, I think it'd be a better tournament play. Chris Bryant, he had the day off on yesterday, so, he may be in the spot for a good game. But, BVP statistic-wise, he's 1 for 10 versus Garza with 1 career home run. So keep that in mind. He does have a homer, but he's 1 for 10 versus him. And let me mention Anthony Rizzo. Anthony Rizzo, he's also in a good spot. BVP statistics, let's see, Rizzo. He's batting .333 with 1 career home run versus Matt Garza. But the thing is with Rizzo, he costs more than Chris Carter. So, I chose Carter. And then another thing, I was looking at Rizzo's game log, just looking at every time that he hit a home run. And I didn't even see up to like August 11th. I looked at his game log from August 11th up to yesterday. And anytime that he hit a home run, he never hit home runs in back-to-back games. So I found that trend interesting. So being that he homered hit 2 last night, maybe he just don't hit one tonight if it follows that trend. But I think Carter is a better play because, again, if you have to choose between the two, Anthony Rizzo, he definitely will be higher owned. And you try to look for players that will be lower owned who have the upside in tournaments. And I think Carter, fits in that description for that. So, and the last play of my lineup is not really a big play. It's just a salary decision. That's Howie Kendrick if he starts. I know I mentioned Robbie Ray being a good play at pitcher, but Howie Kendrick, he had a day off on last night. He's his price tag is $2,900, and he also has 1 career home run versus Robbie Ray. Tough ballpark, but it was just a salary decision. I'm thinking about using Ryan Schimpf, but I got Price in my lineup, so that might be kind of contradictory. But that's pretty much how I have my lineup with this stack. Again, David Price, and I'm stacking the Cubs and the Brewers game. They scored 17 runs total in the game last night. I'm hoping for similar results for today. Now that I went over my lineup, I'll just kind of give my take on, some of the other players at each position. At the catcher position, let me see. I think Jonathan Lucroy probably is the best play. Lefty versus righty matchup. Pitching for Seattle is a guy named Miranda. Lucroy, he homered on last night. He tends to be a streaky player. So I definitely think he's the best catcher on the slate tonight. Any other options at catcher? If I had to pick a second choice, it don't really look good at catcher to me. I'm not just going to just say anybody. So that's about it at catcher. I see Lucroy, and that's the only person that I like. I'm going to move on to the next position, first base, a position that's typically stacked every night. My favorite player at first base would be Freddie Freeman for my team, the Atlanta Braves. He has good BVP statistics versus Steven Strasburg. He's batting .412 with 4 career home runs. So Freddie Freeman, I think he's a great play tonight at first base. I think you can play him as a one-off, or you could even also consider playing a Braves stack. But Freddie Freeman, I think he's a great play. And a part of me just want to just kind of stick him in my lineup instead of Chris Carter. But maybe I'll make a second lineup. But definitely Freddie Freeman. Again, Anthony Rizzo, he has good BVP statistics versus Matt Garza. And I think that's going to be about it for first base. Maybe Justin Bour could be a sneaky play. Justin Bour could be a very, very sneaky play at 2,800. He's just coming off the disabled list. I believe he has 1 career home run versus Jeremy Helkinson, if that's how you pronounce his name. A low price tag of 2,800. But this guy, Justin Bour, for the Miami Marlins, he definitely has power. So if you're looking for a sneaky play at first base, I think Justin Bour can be that guy. Moving on to the other positions, second base. At second base, I think Daniel Murphy is the best play. Best play at second base for 3,800 for the Washington Nationals. I also think a Washington Nationals stack could be very good also. They played good on last night. I think it can work again tonight. Folty, the pitcher for the Braves, sometimes he struggles on the road. Sometimes he loses composure. So definitely Daniel Murphy as part of a Washington Nationals stack could be a good play. Everybody already know about Brian Dozier, but I'm not playing him. But it is a lefty versus righty matchup, and he's at home. So at 4,600, if you can find a way to fit him in, definitely Brian Dozier. He hitting home runs every night. And Robinson Cano, I think he's a great play if he plays. He left the game with an injury on last night, but he has good BVP statistics versus the pitcher he's facing. Where is it at? He's batting .400 with 1 career home run. And I think the pitcher is Griffin for the Texas Rangers that he's facing. And I think that's going to be about it for me at second base. I'm going to move on to the next position, third base. Like I mentioned earlier, Chris Bryant, he's a good play. Always consider Coors Field. Nolan Arenado, he's definitely in play. I don't really like Justin Turner, but the simple fact that it's a lefty versus righty matchup and Turner does have power and he's playing at home, he could be an interesting play. I'm not big on Kyle Seager tonight, but Kyle Seager, he plays good at home. He could be an interesting play also. He hit a home run on last night, helped me win some money. And I think that's about it for third base. So I'm going to move on to the next position of shortstop. At shortstop, honestly, I don't see anybody that I like. Troy Tulowitzki has a 1 career home run against the pitcher that he's facing. Sample size is only 2 at-bats. So if you're into BVP plays, Yankee Stadium being a small ballpark, he could be in play. Francisco Lindor, lefty versus righty matchup at home versus Doug Fister. I'm not interested in Corey Seager, so I'm not going to mess with him. Sorry. Yeah, shortstop seems kind of weak to me tonight, so I don't really have much to say about that. Maybe Espinoza for 2,600 if you for the Washington Nationals if you're trying to do a national stack. And moving on, the last position, outfield. Let's see. Definitely the Coors Field exposure. Blackman, if he plays, and Carlos Gonzalez. I mentioned the Washington Nationals, so definitely Trey Turner. Can't leave him out if you do a national stack. Mookie Betts is always in play because he's like a MVP candidate. Just kind of looking through. I'm not really big on Dexter Fowler. I know he got speed, but I don't really like his home run power. But he typically leads off, so if you try to do a Chicago Cubs stack, I can see why you would use him. Hunter Pence, good BVP statistics versus De La Rosa. He's batting .308 with 2 career home runs. Lefty versus righty matchup. Game is at Coors Field. So definitely Hunter Pence for the San Francisco Giants. I think he could be a good one-off play or even part of a San Francisco Giants stack. It goes without saying, Bryce Harper, if you do a national stack. Christian Yelich, I think he's good also. Lefty versus righty matchup at home versus Jeremy Helkinson. And I'm going to look at my little research paper, see if there's any other outfielders that I like. Gordon for the Kansas City Royals. BVP statistics versus Duffy. No, I'm sorry, Gibson. He's batting .409 with 1 career home run. And I think that's about it for my lineup strategy for tonight. So again, this one lineup that I have right now, I like David Price. I know the price is $10,800, but I think the price is right. So I like David Price for the pitcher for my lineup. Good matchup. And I'm trying something that I really haven't tried all season. I'm stacking a complete game. The Chicago Cubs and the Milwaukee Brewers. Y'all could probably stack it a different way, but I explained to y'all how I'm stacking. I think a lot of runs are going to be scored in that game. So that's kind of what I'm going with for tonight. I'm going to probably make another lineup, put Robbie Ray at pitcher, because I think he's in a good spot also, and maybe stack the Nationals or find some other team. Other than the Brewers and the Cubs, I think the Nationals are a great stack, and I also think that if you use Price and you're trying to save some money, the Braves with Freddie Freeman, Garcia, I think they're in a good spot to score some runs also. Let me make sure it's no other games that have good stacking options. Definitely Coors Field. The Giants, I think if you stack them, that could be a good stack. And also the Rockies. The Coors Field exposure, because at any given night, a game could have a total runs of 20 or more. So definitely consider those. But other than that, that's about it. I feel good about it. I won on last night and hoping to continue on a winning streak and have some success tonight. And as always, I want to thank everyone who's taking the time out to view this video. Thank you to everyone who subscribed to the YouTube channel. We're up to like 69 subscribers. Thanks to everyone who's joined the Facebook group. Thanks to everyone who's following on Twitter as well as on Instagram. Just search the hashtag BeTheBestDFS, to join the social media outlets that, I have online. But again, thanks to everyone. Hope y'all win some money. And tomorrow I will be putting out my week 1 NFL video. It's going to be the truth. I'm telling you, I had some really, really good plays. I'm excited, and I really expect to have some major success for week 1 of the NFL season. So definitely be on the lookout for that tomorrow. I'm going to try to put it out early in the day, work on it in the morning. But yeah, that's about it for the what I got for the MLB today. Again, thanks to everyone. Good luck to y'all. Hope y'all win some money. And just like always, I'll leave y'all with what I leave y'all with. Try to be the best tonight. All right, I'm out.